Fast forward, yini kuma chani so hasi GH Politics Avenue. Oni a podcast or subscribe me speak headlines. Ena jemre na EDB aksumo awaha. Any DM niya black mus ene AD kanya. Mr. Excel bit subscribe to the channel. It's a notification bell so share na afo France so answer into me and kebi. Any DM niya black simu. Mr. say young political house na eje dema. Minia enya asem koto akra. Na ningina enexem. Petition ahodoa call His Excellency John Dramani Mahama so any day what me refer petitions ningina e ama Chief Justice Bawumia lawyer Martin Kpebu a private legal practitioner papa yi edina no atuma enya asem koto akra wasoso ejagum wadabu into legal wisdom what me inflaming passion me no kase ono ankasa de se esinibu akase OSP ejaben sa petition we say you can never survive it yemonwram ye hwen sema hodo tim ehwe gu so
Two deputies, Dr. Eric Bosman Asari and Samuel Tete. According to TV3 sources, 7 of the petitions were filed by private citizens for the removal of the EC chair and her deputies. The remaining 3 are seeking the removal of the special prosecutor, Kisi Ajabin, alleging various misconducts by the heads of the 2 institutions. President Mahama has, in accordance with Article 146 of the Constitution, forwarded the petitions by private citizens to Chief Justice Paul Bafuboni for the determination of prima facie against them. Let's have a quick chat with private legal practitioner Martin Kpebu on these petitions. Good afternoon, Martin. I appreciate your time with us this afternoon. But, I mean, these petitions, obviously you're not surprised about them, are you?
I'm not surprised at all, because in actual fact, for Kisi Ajabin, the special prosecutor, I think the information some people insisted on is that the petitions are 15. So the fact that it's even lower is a bit strange to me.
15,
but we'll
15
see.
petitions against who?
Kisi Ajabin, that's what we heard initially, and it's been in the news for 2 weeks now. So it's surprising that now they say it's 3. But well, this is the official response. But overall, I'm not surprised. I'm about to add my own petition. I'm working on mine because I also have new grounds. I believe it's possible that my grounds will be separate. So I'm also applying for petitioning for the removal of Kisi Ajabin.
I see. Again, this time around, the petitions have not been leaked. How does this come to you, considering you have once considered to petition the president to remove Kisi Ajabin himself? We do not know the content of this petition.
Yes, we don't know those ones. But since mine has not yet gone, I've laid the charges already in public, where I said Kisi Ajabin is corrupt, where I said he's incompetent, and the incompetent one is the easiest to prove, because Kisi himself admitted that he saw Oforiatta leave Ghana. Meanwhile, at the time, he knew that he had 5 cases, so not just the SML, 5 cases against Oforiatta. And Kisi lied by saying he went to a National Intelligence Bureau to help him arrest Oforiatta. They didn't help him. Then he went to Ghana Immigration Service to help him arrest Oforiatta. They didn't help him. Then he went to National Security to help him arrest Oforiatta. They didn't. It's turned out that these are false. At least the first response from the National Intelligence Bureau, NIB, or formerly BNI, is that Kisi never sought any help. I read a letter this on Saturday on key points. So when we present this, there's the grounds of incompetence and stated misbehavior. The head of our public, this anti-corruption institution, lying to the citizens. He will not survive it.
I see. And then there are 7 petitions against the Electoral Commission chairperson, Jean Mensah, and her 2 deputies. How does that come to you as well?
That one too, I'm not surprised. It was always clear that, Jean Mensah was going to go. You know, from the 2024 election, campaign into the elections, etc. I remember one thing, when we asked for an audit of the voters register. This simple thing, allow a public audit of the voters register, Jean Mensah would not allow. So you could see that there was something they were hiding. And in 2020, I didn't support the opening of a new voters register. We had COVID, and they forced us to go and stand in the queue. Of course, I didn't go because it was clear that was a health
But what
hazard.
we are doing now, Council, are we not perpetuating a cycle?
Oh no! If the person is bad, the person has to go. It's not a cycle. If the person is good, the person
it's not a repeat of the playbook that was used to remove Madam Charlotte Osei?
No, this one's Charlotte Osei so too. So let me be clear. Once it was shown that she's a witch hunt at all. I've never said so. The only thing we say is that the procedural mistakes. You remember Charlotte Osei said so for Akuffo, Chief Justice at the time, didn't give her a copy of the petition. Yes, those are the matters we are raising. And then other things like one of the petitioners was said to have been a dead person. And then also Akuffo allowed somebody to come and sign when the petition was presented without the person's signature. So those were procedural things. But by and large, you see some of them occurred in the removal of Tokonu. You see in Tokonu's removal, she didn't get a ruling on the prima facie determination. And some of us have said that this is the last time we should have without a ruling on the prima facie. Just to repeat, when we say prima facie, so that's the determination President Mahama made when he looked at the petitions and said that yes, they carry weight. There is there's water or there's something in it. So Justice Tokonu should go and answer. So President Mahama should have given a reasoned ruling. Yes, he's not a lawyer, but he could have allowed lawyers to do it for him to sign. Even Akuffo, who is a lawyer, when it was his turn, Lawyer Kujeto wrote the prima facie ruling for him, and Akuffo signed. So that's one of the improvements. So the point I'm making is that when it comes to the Charlotte Osei removal, the things that were complained about, they were procedural, but it remains that they didn't set up the entity tender committee. There was procurement breaches. That one, she doesn't deny it. There were procurement breaches, though later I hear, why she did also save us money here and there. But the fact still remains that there were procurement breaches. So I'm not one of the persons saying that the removal of Charlotte Osei was unjustified. So it's the procedural breaches that we want to stop, like what has happened also in Tokonu. Let's up the game. We shouldn't have those petty mistakes. We shouldn't have them because some people
Indeed,
can
Council,
then hang on to the
speaking of mistakes, again, during the process to remove Justice Tokonu, there were issues around whether or not the petitioner, there were issues around the prima facie case, and then telling the Chief Justice, about those prima facie case. There were issues about knowing the content of the petitions against her. What should be the lessons learned here in going through the procedure?
Yes, so the lesson is that next time, as I mentioned earlier, there should be a reasoned ruling. People can assist President Mahama or any other president when the president is not a lawyer. There should be a ruling when the president says there will be a prima facie determination. That's in the interim. But thankfully, we are about to change the constitution. So in the new constitution, hopefully the president will not have a role in the removal of a chief justice because it weakens the judiciary. So actually that should be the first lesson, that we should hurry up with the constitutional review process that Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh is leading. They should have submitted their report by now, right? Yes, so let's ensure that we do the constitutional amendments quickly. Then we can strengthen this and then the prima facie ruling too. Okay, that's what I think we should do.
Very well, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. Martin Kpebu is a private legal practitioner. We've just been looking at those 10 petitions against the Electoral Commission chair, her 2 deputies, and the Special Prosecutor, Kisi Ejabin. This morning, we know that the minority in Parliament...
Dashboard this afternoon. But before we do that, yes, Public Affairs Director of the West African Secondary School Examination, or it's WAEC, South African Examination Council, John Kapi, and the Executive Director of Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asare, who spoke earlier to us on a TV3 New Day. First is John Kapi.
Have a situation where, let me talk about irregularities first, where the candidates are bringing in foreign material. So it probably looks as if some of the candidates are not adequately prepared, or they have this psychological feeling that they would need to get some assistance from somewhere in order to be able to make it. And then when it comes to, I wouldn't be able to talk much about teaching because I'm not with them in the classrooms, but a little more effort in terms of preparing the candidates adequately for these examinations would help. And then generally, as an examining body, if you look at the statistics, we certainly would not be happy with it, because if you set an examination and everybody passes, that raises eyebrows. If everybody fails, it raises eyebrows. But there should be a kind of balance, so that, because we don't all have the same ability levels.
Circle. I also didn't like it. So, you see, the point I want to make is that all these things border largely on adequate student preparation. We don't know how inadequate the space for preparing for examination is in our senior high schools because of the length of time students spend in school. And so always should try as much as possible to make sure that you improve the time on task. Okay, you improve the contact hours within the limited time they spend, because of, among others, the double track. In the past, we've seen a lot of interventions in that area. The interventions still continue in many schools, but it appears that there's a coordination deficit. It will be good that the GES coordinates these interventions and motivates teachers to do this extra work, because we don't have enough days to spend in school. And so you definitely have to do extra work and support them with extra allowance. That's very, very important. As I'm saying, it is an opportunity to review and strengthen the learning process, especially the pre-examination learning process. That is one. Two, an opportunity to remind students that this time we have moved into an era where there are very, very, very biting implications for them.
That's Kofi Asare, the Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch. I mentioned we're going to take you to the dashboard. We're going to do that right now and try and walk you through what the numbers are from WAEC, who've been providing details as to the performance, comparing it vis-a-vis with others in previous years, and why many are having this conversation, because there is quite the concern for conversations as to what we're seeing in terms of the results for this year. And so 461,736 students sat for or were registered for the exam. Out of that, 1.26% were absent. That's around 5,000 of them who were not present during the examination. And we'll seek to, amongst many other things, take you through a bit more of the details as well. And so we see the pass rates for the core subject, and this is what it's looking like. And so for English, we see 69% managed to get between A1 and C6, 69%. In core maths, that number is at 49%. And that is a drop from previous years, because over the course of the last 3 years, we've seen more than 50% of the students as well pass core maths. Integrated science as well, we've seen a decline in terms of the pass rate as well. And then the huge one that surprised a lot of people, social studies, because over the last 3 years, we're averaging around 70% students passing, but now that's dropped to 46 or 56% rather, I should say. And then there's a bit more in terms of what it is that we'll bring to you this afternoon. The notable observations as made: more than half of the candidates failed core maths in the 2025 WASSCE, making it the worst performance in 7 years. Then also, 1 in every 3 got an F9 in social studies in the 2025 WASI. And we've been going through some of the questions which were asked, particularly the essay part, which was about value system, amongst many other things, cooperation with the UN. And so for many, the reaction has been, who failed social studies? But this is the result, and this is what we're seeing play out in terms of the WASI result for this year as well. And again, another notable thing, English language had the highest pass rate in the year at 69% between A1 and C6. And that is what we know. But we'll take all of this and subject it to a bit more in terms of scrutiny. But here's what the 4-year trend looks like. And that's what I was talking to you about. That if you look at the core subject, over the last 4 years, we see that for English language between 2022 and 2025, it's hovered around 69 to 73%. For maths, this was the sharpest dip we've seen in some years, after 3 years where it was above 60%. And so to have been in the regions of 60% and now you're at 48.73 is a cause for concern. For science, it's fluctuated a bit. At some point, it's been around the 50 percentile region. And so, yes, you can make the argument and say this falls within the trend and the percentile ranges, but that raises serious concern. When you look at social studies, for instance, significant decline from the 70 percentile regions to 55.82, and 6,295 candidates have their exam results cancelled for bringing foreign materials into, and it's important to note this because the Ghana Education Service has been issuing a statement on the back of what it is that we've seen, and we'll incorporate all of that when we get onto the phones with Professor Jonathan Fletcher. But 653 candidates as well had the entire results cancelled as well for possessing mobile phones, and we know that there is over 100 schools, 908 subject results, and 158 full results withheld for suspected offenses, and then 100 plus schools, 185. All of these schools have their results withheld as a result of alleged collusion. Let's get onto the phone lines right now. Professor Jonathan Fletcher is a former Dean of Education at the University of Ghana and an educationist as well. Let's put all of these to him for a bit more in terms of analysis and a way forward, because that's what we will seek to do this afternoon. Prof, I appreciate you and for joining us. You've seen the result, you've seen the trend. What in your estimation could have accounted for what it is that we've seen in this year's WASI?
Take this opportunity to say hi to your cherished viewers and listeners.
Right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Prof. I can.
Oh, you can? Okay, very good. Yes, absolutely. I've had a look at the results, and like you, I sometimes find it very difficult to understand why we are in the situation we are now. But of course, it's early days yet, and we need time to analyze and look at all the factors that have contributed to this. But if you're comparing the results, particularly the results of mathematics, for example, for last year and this year, that's quite a drop, because from it's about 18% down, and all the other subjects, core subjects, the same. So definitely there is something the matter with the situation. But as I said, we probably can't get all the answers now. We need time to study the data carefully and look at all the factors that could contribute to this situation. But on the face of it, if you look at the data on the face of it, you would probably look at different areas where you maybe look at reasons why that should happen. And anytime that there is a case like this, I always look at things from the student end. That is, after all, the other ones writing the exam, and that is maybe the first place we look at to find out if there was something that could have gone wrong as far as the students are concerned. And if you look at, and I'm using the math, for example, it's always been a problem. I mean, last year was great. This year, and then earlier, it wasn't that good. But it looks like with the math, as far as students are concerned, we are struggling to get students to, dispel this perception that maths is a difficult subject. That's the first thing, and that's very fundamental. And until we're able to do that, that doesn't help a lot because a lot of students think that mathematics is difficult, and therefore they don't even invest enough time in the study of the subject. And so what that happens is that if with that perception, the students are not investing enough time in the study of the subject, then of course the performance will be affected. And once the performance is affected, then that you start a cycle. So it becomes a vicious cycle because they think it's difficult. And so when they fail, they think, well, we told you it's difficult, we're going to fail, and we failed. So the thing that I always look at is students' perception about the nature of mathematics and how it helps them. That's the first thing. But apart from the attitudes, it's also a number of things. If you look at examinations that students have gone through over the years, we've always had this challenge of examination malpractice, which is on the face of it might suggest that there's something that is minor, but it's not. It's serious because if students are engaged in examination malpractice, what that means is that they believe that if they don't get caught, they get away with it. There are some students who will believe that during the exams they're going to get help, and therefore why waste time studying the subject, or not only math subjects, but other subjects as well.
Right.
So why study the subject? And that itself is not a good idea. So if we are able to kill this canker of examination malpractice, I think results will be good because students will actually earn the marks they get.
Right.
Now, as we speak,
which is what is the government's argument right now? Because the Ghana Education Service has issued a statement where they are seeking to clarify the conversation in terms of the results, and they say that look, they enforce strict exam rules.
We ain't some who do it because what channel so. I'm not so jembe. That's an so bad yen. Eddie Adumbi Edumian. Unia and Saint Emunro.